Hey guys, I'm going to show us how to use the virtual tabletop as a player, and I'm just going to roll right into it here. So the GM is going to send you a game link, and that link is going to take you to a screen that looks like this. So we have our game name, and that's going to be in all caps, and then the name of the Patreon account is going to be here. So if the name here doesn't line up with who you're talking to on Discord or other things, don't be confused, because it's specifically related to their Patreon account. Next, we can put in our player name. Like if I want to be called Sterling, I can put in Sterling. If I want to be called my character Thulam, I can label it Thulam. Lastly, we have our color. I always suggest using a bright color because it'll be easier for you and others to recognize your pings and your dice, and just makes it easier to label everything. And then we're just going to click Join. And as our table loads in, one of the first things we'll notice is if the GM has some music loaded up into the tabletop, is it's going to start playing. And all of that takes place down here in the bottom right. So we can adjust the sound with our plus and minus, and this is just for us as individuals. And then our tracks are here, and as a player, we don't really want to mess with these because if we click a different track, it's going to change it for everyone. So don't be messing with that. Next, we'll look at our token. So we've got a lot of different options here on our token. We've got a rotate option. So if I get knocked out, I may want to flip him on his side. Somebody help me! I need help! And I can flip him back up once he's been healed. Then we've got our up and down arrows. This moves them from the top or the bottom of the stack. So if we've got these two characters close to each other like this, and I want Thulam to be behind the other one, I may do this to represent, hey, my guy's a little bit behind him, but we're still next to each other. And then vice versa, if I want to bring him in front, I'll pull him to the front like that. All right, next we have our label. So this is this little AA thing here. And right now my character is labeled as my character name, Thulam. But there are some other cool things we can do here, like put in a number. So I could put in 10 to represent how much health my character has. Or maybe I want to put in 15, that's how much defense my character has. And I can then adjust this with these plus and minus arrows. So if I take some damage, I can drop that down, and everyone knows, hey, Thulam's only got 7 health left. We might want to heal him up. You can also see our names down here at the bottom of the screen, so it's easily recognizable. I've got a green 7, I'm green, so I am Thulam. Thulam has 7. I prefer to keep track of this stuff on my own, on an own sheet, so I'm just going to change it back to Thulam. Then we have our zoom in and zoom out on the token. So if I click and drag, but don't release, I can adjust the size and I can look in a little closer to the specific token either I or the GM has dropped. And when I release, it's going to be staying at that size for me and for everyone else. Now Thulam is definitely not that big, so I'm just going to shrink him back down to this size here. One of the cool features with the virtual tabletop is that this scaling option is in accordance to how far you're zoomed in on the table. So if we look at this top cove and I put my mouse here and then use my scroll wheel, I can zoom in on this area. And it's going to focus the zoom on wherever your mouse is. So if I look over here, I can zoom in here and all that good stuff. So let's drag our token over here and zoom in. If I then resize, I'm going to be able to shrink the token much smaller than I would if I'm zoomed all the way out. And you can see just how small that token is now. The label is going to remain the same size so that everyone can easily see what this little tiny token is. This may be useful if you have like a little rat companion or something like that running around doing stuff. But Thulam is a normal size, so we're going to leave him just how he is. All right, the next option we have here is just a horizontal flip, kind of as an indicator to where our character's looking. So if there's someone down the road this way, I can flip him, and then he can say, oh, guys, did you see that guy down the road that way? The next one is our copy. So if I click this, it's going to make a clone of Thulam, which can be useful if, like, you're summoning some imps and the GM drops a little imp on the screen. You can then make a copy and duplicate however many imps there are. I can also click and drag our group and click that same copy button, and we're going to create even more copies. So now there's 4 clones of Thulam, and if a monster destroys one, brings us to our next option, the little trash can here, which when I click this, it's going to destroy our token. I can do the same thing with the clone here. Click and drag, delete, they're both destroyed. The last option we have here is our lock, which just makes it so no one can move the token, rename it, or anything like that. One thing you may notice that while I'm selecting this token, there seems to be a little green highlight around it. And if you look at this token, you can see there's a little red highlight, so the GM has selected this one. So maybe I want to point a spell at this character. I could say, hey, I'm going to shoot this character, and now everyone knows, hey, this one's selected, that's what they're aiming at. All right, next, let's look at our dice. We've got our dice from 20 to 4 over on the left side, and one of the awesome things about this table is I can roll a die, and then click it, drag it onto the board, and release, and there's our die. So let's say my character gets knocked out. Oh no, Thulam's down. I can roll my death timer, put it on the screen, and then I can adjust it with those arrows just like on our character sheet to keep track of how many rounds I have until I'm gone. A GM may also drop a token in. For example, let's say you summoned a wall of fire, and this is how long the fire lasts. I can then take that token, and if I change the number, it's going to switch to my color, so everyone knows, hey, that's his wall of fire, that's how many turns it's going to last, and then I can just get rid of that in the same manner, and if I remove this down to nothing, whoop, it'll also disappear. Okay, another nice thing about the dice is all our rolls are going to be stored in this little dice tray on the right. So for some spells and abilities, we may need to keep track of what we've rolled. Now this tray doesn't keep them forever. It keeps it for about, I think, a minute, maybe 2 minutes. And when I roll a die, it's going to be added to the tray here. So if I have like the memory ring on the wizard, I can roll a few of these and then scribble it down on my piece of paper or my character sheet, whatever I'm using to track that stuff. And then I can just get rid of that little dice tray in the future. So this is from a top-down look at a normal style D&D RPG map. But sometimes in Runehammer, we like to use more of like a visual scene, something like this. So in this case, a ping can be really important as to where you intend to move or fire off a spell, and this is gonna be using a double click. So let's say I want to shoot a fire spell or throw a bag of explosives at this bone worm. I can say, hey, I want to throw it right here to destroy the stairwell. All I'm going to do is double click, and there should be a ping that appears for you and everyone else in your color for all to see. Lastly, we have in this bottom left corner a little draw index card button. We can click that and an index card is going to appear. So let's say I destroyed that stairwell. Maybe I just make a little hole like this and then upload. And then here is our hole. So there's no way for this bone worm to climb up the stairs here, but maybe he'll climb up the walls or something terrible. And then we can just use all the functions of our token in the same way there and get rid of that. And I believe that'll be all you need to use the virtual tabletop. Oh, one other thing before we disappear is these names down here are often used as a way for the GM to keep track of player order. So right now it's GM first, then Thulam, then maybe we've got Rick and Sam and Steven who are after that, and they can adjust that with these arrows. So I can click this to move Thulam to the front of the order and vice versa. Probably not going to need that as a player, but it can be useful for you to keep track of who's coming after you and when your next turn is coming up. Anyway, I hope to see you at the table. I hope this is a clear understanding of how the virtual tabletop works, and that your dice roll high. Take care. Bye-bye.